Today I'm going to teach you how to throw playing cards. Then I'm going to show you how to make them explode. Stay tuned. What up, fam? Welcome to Skill Tree, where we learn how to do just about everything. Alright, let me take you for a little walk inside of my brain space for this episode. So for a while now, I've been toying with the idea of adding another branch to our skill tree, in which I try to learn some of what I've lovingly dubbed as hero skills. Basically, seemingly superhuman skills that are usually found on like fantasy characters and comic book heroes. As most of my natural superpowers have yet to reveal themselves, I figured I can just try to find some clever workarounds to make the same thing happen that happens with their powers. So seeing as I have a deck of playing cards and loads of free time, I figured now would be a great opportunity to give it up for America's favorite Cajun X-Man. I'm of course referring to Gambit. In case you're unfamiliar with Gambit, he's the X-Man who throws cards. Now, he doesn't just throw cards, he has the ability to imbue them with kinetic energy, thus making them explode. And not just playing cards, he can do it to pretty much anything. But for our purposes, we're going to learn how to throw playing cards like Gambit does. But here's the thing, as I said, he doesn't just throw the cards, those suckers explode on impact. And I will not be outdone. I have made it my mission to replicate this power and level up these skills. Throwing cards. So I found to learn this skill, there's some super important resources you need. Of course, there's the obvious, you need a pack of playing cards and something to toss them at. But the most important thing you need, by far, is just a buttload of patience. You will be throwing just so many cards. And you know what happens after you've thrown all the cards? You pick the cards up. Somebody got to pick the cards up, it's you. You're the one you pick them up. X-Men have it easy. They just have a traumatic experience in their teens and bam, powers. Anyways, persevere though and you will get it. It actually isn't that hard of a skill to learn. For a target, I opted to use this foam board insulation I got from Home Depot. I even used my screen print to make it snazzy. And here's my first mistake, I think. And it could be just me making up excuses for why I suck at throwing cards, but it was like this foam board was specifically made to repel cards. Like, it's a super tough foam, and I don't know, I saw this next to the pink one, and I think the pink one was a little bit softer. I might have chosen that one if I have the chance again. Like, in a universe where people throw cards instead of shooting guns, that would be what the Master Chief wears. You'll see, I have examples. I don't think I'm crazy. I might be crazy. Anyways, with my target all set up, I started honing my cardboard ninja skills. So, that first set of throws clearly demonstrates the need for proper technique. I mean, look at it. I look like the flower girl at a wedding. It's sad. After only about 10 minutes, though, a technique began to emerge.
Okay, I got the grip down now.
Then, a miracle happened.
Yes! Yes!
That's right. Take it in. And then promptly forget it happened. A broken clock is right twice a day, and miracles can just happen out of the blue. And that little celebration I did was premature at best, because it took me another hour and a half before I can make it do that again with any kind of consistency. I was basically just playing the world's most infuriating game of 52 pickup with myself, or just throw cards at things. I may or may not have lost my patience once or twice. And this is where I let you be the judge. Tell me this board isn't at the very least card resistant. Those are like strong, dead-on hits. Nothing. But by adjusting the technique a little bit every time, here's what I learned. The technique that seemed to work the best was to pinch the corner of the card between my middle and index finger and hold it tightly. Then whip my hand out like I was trying to get slime off of it, releasing the card once it was pointing at the target. Using this technique, I was fairly consistently able to stick the card using both kind of sidearm and overhand throws. So maybe I was just whining earlier, I don't know. I still think that foam is really hard to get the cards into. But this technique significantly improved my power and accuracy. I was even able to assassinate this carrot.
Ha ha!
Yeah! And I wanted to build that up in this episode to be like the big challenge. Like, can I do this now? You know, the accuracy needed and the power to make it stick. And I was absolutely really proud of having been able to do that. Like, it stuck in really deep, and it really didn't take me long once I started trying to do it. Then my head took over, and I decided it was time to make them go boom. So yeah, originally this episode was just gonna be throwing cards. I was gonna see if I can get it to stick into a carrot or cut a celery stick or something like that. Then, just as like a thought experiment for myself, I was like, well, he makes them explode. How would I go about that theoretically? Flashed to me in bed at like 3 o'clock in the morning, feverishly looking up different kinds of explosives I could use. Which, let's be real, there's no way I'm not on a list now, right? Like, I just talk about a deck of playing cards in the vicinity of the internet, and that's all the ads I get. So there's no way I can search for a solid 4 hours on explosives and not be on a list somewhere, right? Guess I'll find out the next time I travel. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't point out that what I'm about to demonstrate can be dangerous. It's not a thing I recommend playing with or taking lightly, and if you do decide to try it, you do so at your own risk. Clever takes no responsibility. So while I was searching around for different homemade ways to make things go boom, I found this video from the late great Grant Thompson, aka the King of Random. In it, he shows you how to make what he calls thunder caps, little things you hit it and they go boom, using a homemade version of Armstrong's mixture. And to make this, all you need is a box of safety matches. To do this, first I took some matches and crushed their heads with a hammer. I'm realizing now how violent that sentence sounds. Crush their heads with a hammer. Another mark against me on that list, I'm sure of it. Then, with a spoon, I crushed them further until I achieved a super fine powder. Next, using a razor blade, I carefully scraped off the red strip on the side of the box. We only need half the amount of this red dust that makes as we do the green powder that we made with the match heads. So this strip contains red phosphorus, and the match head contains an oxidizing agent. When you strike the match, the two of them combine, and the heat from the friction is enough to light the match. By carefully combining the two together in that powdered form, you've already made the first half of that ignition sequence. Now the only thing we need is friction. This is where we need to be very careful from here on out. Since it's in a powdered form, that reaction happens instantaneously. I mixed the two together as gently as possible. I even opted to use a wooden knife to mitigate any chance of like a static spark from happening. To test that my mixture was correct, I added a small amount to some masking tape and covered it over with another strip of masking tape. I then tapped it lightly with a hammer. I was shocked at how loud that small amount was. That's one of the bigger risks here. Like, you probably need a good amount for the little explosion to really do you a lot of damage, but that sound will knock your ears out. It is really loud. So now with the mixture all set, I need to figure out how to attach it to the cards. Plan A was to use a quarter as a small form. I pressed and molded the front of one card and the back of another, so that when they were against each other, they formed a small cavity inside. Then I chipped off a small piece of this soapstone and broke it up into little pebbles. The thought here was to load that little cavity with the tiny stones and my powder. Then when the card hits the target, the stones make a little bit of friction and ignite our powder. To this end, I covered the cavity area and sprayed one card with an adhesive. Then I loaded the payload and carefully placed the other card on top, sealing everything in. So I was very proud of the finished product and also a little scared of it. It dawned on me that it's just loose little pebbles in there and I'm relying on the friction of those little pebbles to make things explode, right? So when you go to throw it, when you're moving the card from here to here forcefully, all those little stones are gonna jump towards the back of that cavity and cause friction, right? Like, it's gonna blow up in my hands, maybe. So I donned some leather gloves, a leather jacket, safety glasses, and some headphones. And before you look at those headphones and say, those aren't safety headphones, I also had like a boatload of like cotton in my ears. I didn't have any of the actual ear guard stuff, so I mean, the bang is super loud, but it's not that loud. I would have been safe. But it turns out, I had nothing to worry about. The damn powder refused to explode. I even added a board thinking the cardboard wasn't like a hard enough target. Alright, so that didn't work out. I took the cards apart, and I noticed that the powder had actually come out and stuck to the glue around the sides. So I'm probably gonna have to wrap it in something. I also think that the card itself acts as too much of a buffer, so I'm gonna move the payload out to the corner of the card and see if that works. So, back to the drawing board. I made more powder and put it in some tissue paper that I formed with a pen to make like a little dumpling. I added my little pebbles to it and tamped it lightly in place, wrapping it all up to look like one of those little poppers you got when you were a kid. You throw them on the sidewalk. Then I taped it to the corner of a card and glued the other card over it, just like before. So this was decidedly less pretty than the first one I made, but I was burning daylight and I needed at least proof of concept. And nothing. At this point, my little hopes and dreams of being an X-Men have been dashed. I just don't know why it's not working. But then... BAM! Oh, hell yeah! I made an exploding playing card. That tiny little payload of powder blew the corner right out. And with like a few modifications, maybe like a colored powder and an even distribution of the payload around so it doesn't matter what edge it hits. I'm just saying, my superhero resume is starting to really shape up. Professor X, you can call me. Or Magneto, I'm not picky at this point. An internship, maybe? Alright, so that's the first of my fantasy superhero themed skill set. If you liked it, give me some of that thumbs up love and hit subscribe and the bell icon so you know when I release new content. Also, leave in the comments if you like this episode and you like kind of the idea around the superhero-esque skill sets. And if you want to see me cover any other skills, also leave those in the comments and I will add it to the list. Alright, well I gotta go. Gotta pick up my superhero name. Maybe like the Clever Crusader or the Curious Hand. That last one sounded dirty. Anyways, in the meantime, keep leveling up, you.